Business news now. He's back with us on set. Delighted to say Stephen Carroll is back off his holidays. You're starting in France.
I am.
Stephen. A shortage of petrol causing rather a headache for motorists.
It sure is. Striking workers have been blockading a number of oil refineries and depots in France in protest at the government's controversial labour market reforms. That's led to shortages at more than 10% of France's petrol stations, with some 800, mostly in the west of the country, running completely dry. The CGT union says that 6 of France's 8 oil refineries are on strike this Monday. The government, for its part, says it does have sufficient reserves to deal with the crisis. Mark Thompson has the details.
A frustrating weekend for French drivers that's set to stretch out into the week. Across parts of the country, queues from petrol pumps stretched out far beyond the stations.
There's no petrol here at all?
No, they've run out.
I'll try and find some tomorrow. If not, I just won't have any transport.
I'm trying to find some petrol, but obviously they don't have any. And they don't have any reserves. It's a mess.
The cause? A blockade of some of the country's oil refineries by workers in response to controversial labour reforms. They will make it easier for companies to hire and fire staff. The protest originally started in the west of the country, but has now stretched out to Brittany, Normandy and the Paris region.
One station in 5, 20% are in difficulty. The problem is that it's very concentrated. 2/3 of the country doesn't know the problem exists. It's not a question of how much oil we have at the refineries. It's a question of accessing the oil because we have plenty of stock.
In all, 816 of France's 12,000 petrol stations have run completely dry. A further 800 are running low. The CGT union says 6 out of the country's 8 oil refineries are to be affected on Monday. Some of the largest oil depots are also on strike. If the action continues, the government can make emergency stocks open to the public. Around 90 days' worth of reserves are available to be released.
Can take you to Greece next. The Parliament there has voted through a raft of tax rises. This is to get more bailout money.
MPs from Syriza and its coalition partners passed the €1.8 billion package of tax rises late on Sunday. The move paves the way for Greece to receive the next instalment of its bailout money when Eurozone finance ministers meet on Tuesday. That money will keep the Greek state funded until the end of the year, but it's also expected to open way for talks on debt relief with the country's international creditors. The package of unpopular measures included a 1% tax rise in a 1% rise in value-added tax on goods and services. That led to some heated exchanges in Parliament. Let's listen to the Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras.
European leaders will receive a message tonight. The message that Greece fulfills its obligations. It undertakes its responsibilities. Tomorrow, the other side must also take responsibility.
So what's happening on the markets then, Stephen?
European shares generally opening down at the start of the trading day. We're watching closely for what happens with shares in Germany's Bayer. That's after they made an offer to buy Monsanto. They've opened down 3% in Frankfurt. We'll have more on that story in a moment. Shares in the carmaker Fiat Chrysler, meanwhile, down some 3% in Italy. That's after reports that it was being accused of cheating emissions tests as well. Over in Asia, new trade figures in Japan showing a drop in exports weren't helping things on the Nikkei in Tokyo. That finished the day down around 0.5%, and we had just some small gains on the rest of the Asian markets. Some more of the day's business headlines for you next. The French insurance giant AXA is to sell its investments in tobacco worth €1.8 billion. It's to sell 200 million's worth of shares immediately and allow the bonds that it holds to run their term. The firm's incoming CEO says they were doing their part to support government efforts around the world. Thomas Borbel says the move would cost AXA, but that the human cost of tobacco was tragic. The German chemicals and pharmaceutical firm Bayer has upped its offer for agribusiness company Monsanto to $62 billion. That's a 37% premium over Monsanto's closing share price. If the deal was agreed, it would be the biggest ever German takeover of a foreign firm. And Ryanair says its average shares will fall by 7% this year in an effort to boost its market share. Profits of the low-cost carrier rose by 43% in the last year, but they still missed expectations. Ryanair is also warning that its earnings in the current quarter would be hit by strikes by airport staff in countries including France, Italy and Greece.
I'm looking through my wallet again. I do this quite often on France 24. This is my Navigo pass, means I can get on the metro. But this is going to stay, but other ways are going out.
Well, that
right?
could be gone as well. So
This
there's a
could be going
big
as well.
change coming to the Paris metro system. Visitors to Paris might be familiar with those little tickets they use the metro. It's been around since 1900, but there are plans now to get rid of them between now and 2021. That's according to the head of the regional government for the Greater Paris region. Valérie Pécresse says that instead passengers will be able to use contactless bank cards or a rechargeable travel card, similar to the Oyster system in London. Monthly travel pass could be replaced, though, by a smartphone app under her plans. It's going to be a really big change for Paris's transport system, not only for people who live here, but of course for the millions of visitors that use it every year as well.
So I might have to throw this away as well.
Not just
I
yet.
won't chuck it yet. No, exactly. I've got this month's amount on it anyway. Thank you very much, Stephen. Stephen, good to have you back on France 20.